1 year ago today, Egypt's military overthrew Islamist President Mohamed Morsi, leading to a major crackdown, deadly crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood. And right now, opponents of the current government are marking the anniversary of the coup with the so-called Day of Rage. Marches and rallies are underway across the country. Security, however, is heavy in Cairo. And this time, protesters are not gathering at Tahrir Square. You see it there earlier today, very much blocked off with tanks and barbed wire. Let's bring in Ian Lee. He's live in the Egyptian capital. So they're calling it, opponents of the current government, a day of rage. What has happened today across the country? Have we seen any clashes, or was it calm overall?
Well, Hala, there were clashes with the protesters when they met with security forces. We talked to some of the organizers, and they said, we don't expect these protests to last long because of the massive security force presence on the streets, but we did see some clashes. They weren't really the large numbers, though, that we've seen in previous demonstrations. The intensity also really wasn't there. We were expecting after Iftar, after the breaking of the fast, to see more people in the street. Still, we haven't seen the numbers, but it really doesn't matter about huge numbers. What the message being sent here, Hala, is that the Muslim Brotherhood still, after this year, after the government has tried to wipe them out, essentially, can still rally people and bring supporters into the street.
And why didn't we see larger numbers? Is that because of concern that the last time there were big anti-government protests, that there were so many deaths? Or is it because, there's less sort of passion behind the anti-Sisi movement? I mean, how are people explaining this?
Well, it could be a combination, really, of both. And over the course of the last year, we've seen thousands of people, according to rights groups, killed in these clashes. That could be definitely a reason why people aren't eager to go out. We've also seen, at least according to the government, 16,000 people arrested. Rights groups, those same rights groups, put that number in the tens of thousands of people being arrested as the government tries to crack down. And Amnesty International released a report today to talk about the conditions for these prisoners. And they say there's widespread abuse and torture, saying that there's electric shock, rape, and suspension of the detainees taking place in these prisons. Now, the Ministry of Interior came out to deny this, saying that these prisons are like hotels. Well, I've talked to some prisoners in the past about the conditions in there, and it doesn't sound like any hotel I've ever stayed at.